Good afternoon, grinders. This is your RotoGrinders NBA SimLabs analysis for Tuesday, March 11th. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka BlenderHD. If you want to follow me on Twitter, hit that thumbs up button on your way in the door. You know how much I like the thummy thumbs. We got a small slate today, 4 games. We got and pretty the times are pretty convenient. I mean, 7 o'clock Eastern, 7:30 Eastern, 8 p.m. Eastern. So hopefully we'll have any news that we'll potentially need. We have Mitchell on the injury report on the Q tag, Halliburton with the Q tag. Of course, you never know what shows up, so you got to tune in later today on YouTube. We always got a show before lock. Listen to Crunch Time, right leading up until lock on the YouTube channel. Hit that notification bell to always know when we go live. They'll get you all up to date. But I got SimLabs up. Also, remember, SimLabs gets updated throughout the day also as news and projections change and everything like that. We got, it seems like the Clippers and the Pistons, I guess, are kind of the chalkier options today. Obviously, the Pistons, they're facing the Wizards at home, and they got 125.5 implied point total. The Clippers, although Simmons and Norman Powell are out, the Clippers are still like a 7-point favorite on the road to the Pelicans, who have another team with an awful defense. So it looks like the Sims are going to come up a lot with Clippers, with Pistons. I see here in projections we'll get some. Obviously, Giannis. We got Milwaukee against Indiana. That should be a close game. If you're going to pay up, Giannis is probably the spend. But let's take a look at SimLabs and optimal versus projected ownership. The shooting guard position isn't all that strong today. I mean, we got guys like Malik Beasley at 5,400 or Schroeder at 4,400. We got some point guards, obviously. Like Alvarado is a value, even though McCollum's back. He still plays enough off the bench for 4,600 that he still could be of use to you. But we do have, like Lillard and Garland and Cunningham and Harden. I think the point guard spot is going to be point guard and center. Seems like spots where you have an abundance of points, right? Because between Harden and Cunningham, you got Duren, you got Zubac at 8K. You got even someone like Jarrett Allen at 6,100. But we see here that according to our Sims, as of now, at the point guard position, we have Harden as actually under-owned, right? So this is one of those situations where it's like, oh, well, Harden's going to be chalky. Why don't I consider fading him? It's like, well, we have him as under-owned. So, we have him at 32% projected ownership, and we have his optimal rate at like 38%. So actually, as of right now, based on our ownership projections, he's actually under-owned. Alvarado, we have at 22% owned, and we have him at 31% to be optimal. So he's actually under-owned, even though they're going to be kind of chalky. And then a guy like Keon Johnson, we have is massively over-owned. I'm not necessarily sure if he's going to be. We have him at 18% owned. I'm not necessarily sure he's going to be 18% owned. Maybe it'll be 8 or 10% owned today, just because the shooting guard position is a little bit weak at the shooting guard position itself. Right, Malik Beasley we have is under-owned, even though he's going to be fairly chalky. Also, Malik Beasley we have at 21% owned, 30% optimal. So some of these like chalkier plays today, it seems like are actually under-owned if their projected ownership holds. So like someone like Malik Beasley, we shouldn't necessarily be avoiding in our lineup. Same for Harden, right? Same for Jose Alvarado. We take a look at the small forward position. Kawhi Leonard, especially, it makes sense. If Harden's going to be high owned, Leonard may not be as owned as he should. Fills a small forward spot, which is kind of weak today also. So we have Kawhi Leonard at 28% projected owned, 42% to be optimal. So, this may be a chalky day. Our Sims seem to like the owned plays today. At power forward, Kawhi fits in the power forward spot. Obviously, Karlo Matkovic He's going to be a cheap option at power forward if you want to use that in that spot. And then at center, we look at Zubac. I mean, Zubac, we have it 30% owned, and his optimal rate is like 50%. So like it seems like the Clippers, our Sims are basically saying the Clippers. I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna change some of the advanced settings. We have a 4-game slate. So it's a little bit different than a 9, 10, 11 game slate where a lot of the options could be spread around. On the smaller slates, what I prefer to do is I prefer to weight a correlation a little bit more, because you may have a game or two that just blows out completely, and a lot of the starters, don't get there to their ceiling. Maybe they do well, but they don't completely, like if Milwaukee blows out the Pacers, like it's quite possible, Giannis doesn't like get his ceiling. He may get 58 fantasy points, but not like 70 plus. Same thing for like Cleveland. Like I look at Cleveland and go, well, what happens if that game blows out? And what happens if Detroit just, Cade Cunningham gets a bunch of points. He gets 48 fantasy points, but, the Pistons bench is out there in the fourth quarter. So, like, with only 4 games, I'm much more likely to focus on games rather than players. On a 9-game slate, you can't have it all. Well, this game could blow out and this game can't. It's like, well, there's a lot of options anyway. And there may be a lot of close games regardless. On a 4-game slate, maybe not so much. So I like bumping up correlation a bit. I care a little bit less about projection if we're playing for GPPs, right? So my caching rate doesn't matter as much. Obviously, I want to keep my simulation weight high. So yeah, like ownership weight, let me bump that up. I don't care about upside weight. Upside and projection are kind of the same type of thing. I don't want to focus that much on like just raw median projection today on a 4-game slate, because you're going to end up playing a lot of combinations that are going to be very duplicative of each other in your contest. Not like the full lineup, but you're going to be playing 2v2s off of a lot of other people, and I'd rather try to play 4v4s and 5v5s. So I'm going to focus a little bit more towards games rather than players, and I want to focus less on like just like median points and more so on give me the game simulations, give me the players that are most likely to be optimal, and do them in a little bit more of a correlated way. So I'm going to put in for 20 lineups. I'm going to keep my result range high because we only have 4 games. So I want to make sure that all the options for all these 4 games are more or less in my my lineup set. On a larger slate, you'd use a lower result range, so you're not including, the 9th guy on the 16th team, which could still be fine. It's just that now you have like way more lineups to choose from. Here, if you keep it very low on a 4-game slate, you're just going to get a lot of the same people over and over again. So I'm going to leave it high. Let's say we're playing large field. Let's say 20 lineups. Let's just see what shows up. Let's see what shows up in these 20 lineups based on this new configuration. As far as what we're using the SimLabs rating for, right? A little bit more correlation, right? We see, yeah, look, Pistons, right? We're getting Pistons, we're getting Clippers, right? So, like, I don't mind this, right? 88, 82, 82, 81, 79, 76, right? So, I mean, like, just right here. I mean, you got Jordan Hawkins here on the other side of the Clippers game, so that isn't like the worst. I mean, he's a little bit overpriced, but I mean, a lot of people are going to be playing guys like Schroeder, going to play maybe even like a Nick Batum in that spot or something. So we got Cam Thomas and Keyshawn George as like the guys that are not in that game, and then you got Beasley, Harris, Duren, Zubac, Leonard. Like I don't mind these lineups. Here's an Alvarado lineup that has Harden, Zubac. I almost feel like Zubac is going to be in a lot of these lineups because we have Zubac as massively underowned as of now. So maybe I want to lock him in, right? So we could filter out some lineups that maybe we're going to choose to play over others. But any of these lineups, like I'm scrolling down, any of these lineups are fine, right? You got Schroeder, Beasley, Isaiah Stewart. You still got Zubac in here. I mean, if we just take a look at the exposures, Zubac is in 85% of lineups, right? Duren, 65% of lineups. Alvarado. I mean, look, it's all Pistons, Clippers, and then you got Alvarado there also. So maybe let's keep Alvarado in. I'm going to go back to settings. Keep Alvarado in, right? And maybe we'll play Kawhi. And yeah, we're gonna play like Kawhi, Zubac, Alvarado type of lineups. Anyone else on the Pelicans that we could let's see. I'm gonna go over to lineup HQ just to see. I mean, nothing that really stands out. I mean, we can play Matkovic also with Zub. I mean, that's still fine to keep it a little bit more correlated, right? So let's add that in. Let's see if that combination does pan out well. So you can use SimLabs more as a research tool, even if you're just playing one lineup. People think of these tools as, oh, I'm not playing 150 lineups. Why do I need them? It's like I use this as research when I'm playing 3 lineups. So I'm looking for a combination of Zubac, Alvarado, Leonard, and Matkovic. What does the rest of the lineup look like? Because that's really the key of why you're using Sims. You're not trying to select players. You're trying to select lineups. So let's take a look at this. What lineups rate out well that have this combination of 4 players? Oh, okay. We have a decent amount. Okay, so this is fun. Oh, we have plenty of them. Okay, this is good. If it came back with the ratings of 12 or whatever, it's basically telling you there really aren't any combinations like that. So here's one with Keon Johnson in it. Right, here's one with Alvar. Oh, this one looks pretty good. Right, so we're getting Cunningham, Schroeder, and Durant from the Pistons. Then we're getting Leonard and Zubac from the Clippers, Alvarado and Matkovic from the Pelicans, and then Zaire Williams just as $4,400 small forward in that spot. And does he need to hit a ceiling? No, it's a 4-game slate. So you don't need flame emojis from everyone, right? So we see here that the projection is 262.93. And what do we have as our median optimal today as of right now? 268.96. Oh, because we're only giving up 6 points in a median projection. So this is a pretty good lineup. This is the lineup that I would consider playing. Right. And look, you still have Durant at 38% owned, Zubac at 30% owned, Leonard at 28% owned. You still got the Cunningham at 24% owned, Schroeder and Alvarado both at 28% owned. This is still fine. You may go, oh, this is too chalky. Sims are telling you it's not too chalky. This is pretty good, especially when you're kind of correlating. You have pretty much you have a net, and then you're playing 2 games. You're playing a Clippers Pelicans 2v2, and then 3 Pistons, and then a net. That. That's I think what you should be prioritizing today. I don't necessarily want to play 1 Cav, 1 Piston, 1 play Giannis and then play 2 cheap Pelicans and make a combination like that. No, I just kind of want to bet on 1 or 2 games today. What are the lineups we have here? Here's a Harden Leonard Zubac lineup. So you could do something like this. Here you're playing 2 games, but you're not playing any Pistons. Right? So you can play and just go, oh, well, what if the Pistons just blow them out or something? It's a low scoring game or whatever. Well, here's the lineup that doesn't have them at all. So you're playing Harden, Leonard, Zubac. Then you're playing more of the Cleveland-Brooklyn game. So you're playing Cam Johnson in the power forward spot from the Nets. And then you're playing a Jared Allen and Sam Merrill. Right? 3,300 for Sam Merrill. I mean, if he gets you 15 points, that should be fine. And then you're still playing the combination that we're looking for. Right? Leonard, Zubac, Alvarado, Matkovic. Right? And we still got that in this lineup. Right? Here's one with Damian Lillard in it if you wanted to do that. Chris Dunn is obviously an option today for the Clippers as well. So you see all these different types of combinations that all rate out very well in SimLabs. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, here's one with 4 Clippers in it. So you're playing Harden, Dunn, Leonard, Zubac, Alvarado, Matkovic. So you're basically 6 guys from 1 game. Jalen Durant is a one-off and Zaire Williams is a one-off. And is perfectly fine also. Projected 262, which is still about 8 points, 7 points off the optimal, which is fine. The reason why we're getting lineups that are 6, 7 points off the optimal and not closer is because in our advanced settings, we didn't prioritize projection weight. We prioritized correlation weight and ownership weight more than projection weight. On the larger slates, you may not necessarily want to fiddle around with the SimLabs, rating settings here. But I find on really large or really small slates, it could be beneficial to kind of weed out the lineups that are a little bit more positively beneficial for GPPs at least, Although the sims kind of do that all for you already. Remember, 10,000 plus simulations, and we update this multiple times throughout the day. But let's say you didn't want to play this combination. Let's say you wanted the complete opposite. Let's say we wanted to play a lineup that didn't have any Clippers in it. Are there any lineups that look like that? Let's see. I don't know. Because you could play one lineup with all the Clippers and one lineup without the Clippers. They both could have the same SimLabs rating, and they both realize their equity in a contest in two different ways. The Clippers just get blown out or something. There's a chance of that happening today. So let's take out Harden, Leonard. Let's see. I have a sneaking suspicion that if we start excluding all of these Clippers, I'm not sure much is going to come up. So let's see. So we got Harden, Leonard, Zubac, Dunn. Are there any ones that show up a little too much? Right? Is Batum going to show up or something like that? No, most of it is this. So let's see. So I'm just going to exclude those four guys, and let's see what 20 lineups. Let's see if it could pull out anything. And if it can, what do these lineups look like? Okay, not that horrible. No, we got some 70s in here, 70, 73. Okay, not many, not as many. So you're going to be playing a lot more. Obviously, you're going to play a lot more Pistons, Cunningham, Duren, and then playing. You still have Alvarado in there, Torian Prince, Kyle Kuzma, Cam Thomas, Cameron Johnson, Alex Sarr. Right, you're probably going to play a Wizard in the lineup if you're playing Pistons. So yeah, there are lineups like this. I mean, that they project a little bit less. Like you see here, 256, 258, 256, 254. So a lot of these lineups are going to be lower median projection, which means your cashing rate is probably going to go down. But if that Clippers game is a bomb, right? If the Clippers just, crap the bed or they get blown out or something, or, the points get distributed in a way where none of these guys matter, this is how you benefit, by not playing Clippers in your lineup. I mean, you could do the same thing for the Pistons. I mean, you could put in all these Pistons in here. We could put in Cade Cunningham and who else do we got in here? Duren, Beasley. Who else shows up in a bunch of these lineups? Schroeder, right? So put those guys in. Right, we put those guys in. Anyone else? Tim Hardaway. I guess Hardaway does show up in some. Right, anything else here? Malik Beasley. We got Tobias Harris as well. Isaiah Stewart. Yeah, we just put them all in. Just put them all in. So we were going to play a lineup that had no Pistons in it. What would that look like? So let's see. This takes like 3 or 4 seconds. You see here, it's very easy, right? Okay. There's the ratings are a little bit higher, so it's much more likely that you're playing Clippers over Pistons. But here you go. Hey, and basically what you're doing, look at this first lineup. Since we prioritize correlation, we're playing a lot more of the Cleveland-Brooklyn game with Harden, Dunn, Leonard, and then Matkovic and Alvarado on the other side for the Pelicans. And then you're playing Cam Thomas, Nick Claxton for the Nets, and Darius Garland on the other side, obviously as a Q tag, but whatever, on the other side of that next game, right? And you see that, you still see that here. So here's another configuration, very similar, where you're not playing Dunn, you're playing Merrill instead. And you're playing Zubac over Claxton. So it's kind of, and you're playing Alvarado, but not Matkovic. So it's kind of like a 3v3 between lineup 1 and lineup 2. So these would be lineups, what they look like, that don't have Pistons in them. Can you play a lineup that doesn't have Pistons or Clippers today? I mean, I guess. I mean, the projection would be very low. I probably wouldn't. But this is how you use SimLabs to do your research. So as of right now, the overall theme of this slate, as of right now, assuming that all these Q tag players are actually in, is that our Sims, as of now, even though the Clippers guys are going to be chalk, that they're actually going to be under-owned today. So we're talking about Harden, we're talking about Kawhi, we're talking about Zubac. And the Pistons guys are about appropriately owned. I think Duren at 38% ownership, we have him at like 39% chance to be optimal. So it's like these Pistons guys aren't like over-owned either. I think it's just a lot of this ownership that are on these other guys, like Like the Pacers don't come up much today, right? The Bucks really. I mean, we've gone through a bunch of these lineups, and we really don't see that. We don't see that much like Giannis lineups. We see some Taurean Prince, some Kyle Kuzma, but not as much of these like stars and scrubs types of builds with Giannis in them. As far as our Sims, even Beasley, like these lineups, even when we're like trying to stack this Clippers Pelicans game, we're just not getting that much Malik Beasley in these lineups either. And Beasley isn't like absurdly. I mean, Beasley's kind of underowned based on our projected ownership also. So maybe don't stray away from chalk today. I think that maybe that's the thing that the SimLabs is saying. But you'd always tune in later to Crunch Time on the channel. They'll have all the up-to-date projections, all the up-to-date news. SimLabs runs like once an hour on average. So you could use this all throughout the day. It's better to use it much closer to luck. You see how quickly you could do this stuff, right? So definitely join us with a combo light package here at RotoGrinders. It's very cheap. I don't know why it's so cheap. They should raise the price. It's way too cheap. But you get full access to SimLabs. You get all of our stat pack databases like Plate IQ, Court IQ, Weather Edge, all of our premium content, our consensus value rankings, our expert surveys, our game breakdown, stuff like that. And it's for all the 4 major sports. That's NBA, MLB, NFL, and PGA. So click on the link in the description to get more information about that. And if you're not going to do that, at least give me a thummy thumb. Right? That's the one thing you could do for free. Give me a thummy thumb on your way out the door. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here, and I'll be back tomorrow for another look at NBA SimLabs here on RotoGrinders.com.